Hello, welcome to Coffee Talk Tuesday. I'm Christine and this is Blindpomegranatetarot. And on Tuesdays, we do Coffee Talk. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, well, you know what's going to happen. What I'm going to do is I am going to drink this coffee right here. This is a little something that I learned from my great-grandmother. And I am going to teach you how to read the coffee grounds and use your intuition to see what you see. And today we are going to talk about embracing your spiritual gifts. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like a gift, but I promise you it is, but we'll get into that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start drinking my coffee so we can get through that part of it. And then we're going to talk about a couple of different kinds of spiritual gifts. I know there's a lot more than what I have listed here, but we don't have all day. So we're just going to stick to these, okay? And I'm going to tell you some of my experiences and how I deal with them, and maybe that'll help you. And if you have some insight, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Go ahead and comment below. And then when we do the coffee grounds, then you can tell me what you see there too. I think it's really interesting, and everybody sees a little something different, but we're going to use our intuition to find out what that is. So I am going to start drinking the coffee, and then we are going to talk about spiritual gifts and how to embrace them. So, first on the list, clairvoyance. Clairvoyant is clear vision. That's literally how the word works. And that is someone who sees and knows, and it's kind of the full package of the clairs. And then that is followed by clairaudient, claircognizant, and clairsentient. Now, clairaudient is that you hear spirit. Clairsentient is that you feel it. And claircognizant is that you just know what the truth is. So let's start with the clairs then, shall we? Clairvoyant is your ability to see and speak to spirit, not just those that have passed, but spirit guides, your ancestors, angels, and ascended masters, just to name a few, okay? Light body beings. And an excellent way to sort of hone that ability is to meditate. Now, I talk about meditation quite a bit. It really is a way to elevate your intuition, to practice your intuitive skills. Clairvoyants are intuitives, okay? They're also sensitives. If somebody has ever said to you, or you have ever felt that you are sensitive, then perhaps you're clairsentient. So you can sense when something is near you. And you can sense when something's going to happen. And you can sense what's being said to you is claircognizant or clairaudient when they're talking to you, and you can hear them, but perhaps you can't see them. And so the clairs really can encompass a large number of people. Now, let's move on to, and you know, if you are ever sort of spooked by, for a lack of a better term, by your clair abilities, know that this was given to you for a reason. This was given to you as a gift so that you can not just grow yourself, but you can share it with the world. That's an amazing gift. And I know that sometimes these things don't feel like gifts. They can be like, oh, why is this happening? Oh, I wish that, it would go away. But it really is a gift that if you embrace it, you'll be amazed at the gifts that you can give to the world, not just that it's a gift for you. So keeping that in mind, let's move on to mediumship. Now, most people who say that they don't enjoy their gifts or they don't like their gifts or they're scared by them are mediums. And that is because you're having direct contact with the dead, okay? Is kind of the basic definition of being a medium. And I'm going to tell you a little something about my own experience. I am clairvoyant. A clairvoyant is both an empath and a medium. We'll get to empathy, being an empath in just a minute, towards the end. But that is the ability to see and speak and communicate and have a dialogue with spirit. And so it can be that when you first start to, or even if you were as a child, it was something that scared you. I promise you, the majority of the time, these are just regular people who need help. It is, they are. And as a child, still even now, speaking openly about these kind of gifts just doesn't happen. And, you may have these gifts and you keep them from your coworkers, or you may have these gifts and you keep them from your family. In my family, we were open to it, but it was kept within the family. So when I told my parents that I saw these sorts of things, because it's on both sides of my family, and both sides of my family has had experiences and do have experiences, it was open to talk about in my family, but not outside of my family. And so that can put an even greater stigma on this is a scary thing, when really it's not. So what I would suggest to people is sort of be weary of some of the television shows that are out there right now. It's great in that it's becoming something that's more widely spoken of, and it's not such a stigma. But a lot of times there's that we have to sell a television show, so everything's a demon and everybody's bad. And that's not true, okay? And anyone who is truly a medium will tell you that that's not true, and that it's actually very rare to run into something that's not so nice. But that stigma is there, and so it affects how we see what's happening to us. And think of yourself this way. If you had experiences with spirit and they come to you and they want to talk to you, think of yourself as a bright light in a dark room, and that spirit is like a moth and they're drawn to you. And because they can tell that you can see them, they know that they can talk to you. And oftentimes if they're stuck in this plane, they have something that they need to discuss. They have something they need therapy for. And you're sort of the therapeutic in between of their living and their deceased lives. So they haven't moved on. Now, of course, in mediumship, you can speak to the dead that have moved on. If you're speaking to somebody's family for them and that sort of thing, that's much more advanced. But it can be scary because they're trying so hard to talk to someone. Sometimes people will say, well, I got scratched, or I got touched, or and it spooked me and it scared me and I think it's awful and it's terrible and they must be evil. That's not true. It just is not true. Okay. It's very, very rare that happens. Let me explain. I will tell you of an experience that I had many years ago. I was in France and we were staying in an old converted chateau, and on the corner there was a church. And we stopped in there one afternoon to look because it was just this beautiful old church. I think it was from like the 1200s. And we left and then we went back to our room, and that night went to bed, and the end of my bed went down like somebody had sat on it. Now, you hear that a lot from people. Oh, somebody was sitting on my bed, they have to be evil. It's not true, okay? Most of the time, that is not the truth. This is just a human being who is in need of help. So I felt the edge of my bed go down. I was laying on my side, and I felt someone put their arm on my leg and their head on their arm, right? So they were laying across the bottom part of my legs. Well, yeah, it spooked me. I wasn't expecting it. So I sort of leaped up. And when this spirit, a woman, recognized that I could see and hear her, well, it panicked her. She finally had somebody who could talk to her. Now I could tell that she was from early to middle 1800s. And immediately she started to almost yell at me, "Where are my children? Where are my children?" And she was very frantic. Well, she'd been waiting for so long for someone to hear her and talk to her and help her that when finally she found someone, there was a panic in her. Okay. Now, eventually I, got her calmed down and I got to talk to her and I explained to her that her children had passed and that she needed to as well, that she needed to cross over, and that's where her children were and she could find them there. Now, she stuck around with us for a little while. I think that she felt sort of a closeness to us, but eventually she did. And so I was initially startled, but not scared, because I knew that it was just a person. This is just a human being who had crossed, who still had something that she was worried about. Where are my babies? And so probably she passed when they were little. And so although it's a little bit scary at first, most of the time it is just someone who needs your help, and you are the catalyst for that if you have this gift. So hiding from it or running away from it doesn't help them or you. And I'll tell you why I say that. When Spirit knows that you can speak to them, they're going to continually try to speak to you. And the more you push them away and the more you pretend it's not there, the harder they push and the scarier it can become for you. So the best thing to do is set boundaries. This is your life. Yes, this is your journey. This is your experience. This is your soul. You are here. We are all light body beings living a human experience. This is your human experience. You have the right to set those boundaries. I'll tell you what I do. Spirit has always talked to me. I was nearly 3 years old before I started to speak. There are something called Indigo and Rainbow children, born this way, okay? So I was almost 3 years old before I started to speak, and it really worried my parents. But when I did finally, I spoke in full sentences. So have you ever met a child, or maybe it was you, and you thought, my God, that 5-year-old talks like they're 30. It's because they've been having adult conversations the whole of their existence. Children are closer to the light because they've just come from there. There's been many a times when I've just been walking through a store and a baby looks at me and just bursts out laughing and smiling at me and wants to talk to me. And, other people notice it. It's like, well, what did you do, Chris? I didn't do anything. I just walked past. But they can see the light still. Children can. And so because they can do that, Spirit can see it in them as well and know that they can more easily communicate with them. So when it's been a part of your whole life and you didn't have anybody to guide you and tell you that this is okay and this is what you should do, the longer it goes on, the harder it gets for you. So what I do, okay, is I set boundaries. It's very important to set boundaries. For me, I've made a deal with Spirit. This is how you can come to me and this is how you can talk to me. And that is, you can talk to me at night when I'm asleep. You cannot wake me up and you cannot come to me before. So when I'm asleep and I am in my lower consciousness, it's easier, one, for them to talk to me, and two, for me to not be disturbed or upset by it. And I can help them when I'm sleeping in my lower consciousness, which is really where communication is anyway. Okay. So if Spirit breaks that bond that we have created, right? If they break the rules, I literally will imagine, okay, see it in my head, a sign that says closed for business. And they have to listen to it. Okay. If I need to, I will ask my spirit guides to help me out. These Spirit have broken the rules, and that I won't tolerate, so that you have set these clear boundaries. Believe me, they know and they understand and they do follow them. Every now and then there's one that will pop in and try and get me to listen to them anyway. And I'll say, no, the rules are you have to wait. And most of the time they will listen. Sometimes they won't. And so I'll have to just go, well, that's it for tonight. And I will visualize closed for business. Okay. And I promise you, other Spirit will handle that mess for you. Okay. So you don't have to deal with them. So set clear boundaries. If you don't want them in your room at all at night, tell them you don't want them in your room at all at night. That's not how it's going to work. If you want to talk to me, you have 1 hour a day. I'm going to set it aside for you guys, and that's it. You are the ruler of your life. This is your soul and your experience. Now, as you see here on the table here, I have a bowl here with some white sage. I strongly suggest, and this is for everyone on the list, that you sage your house regularly. I do. Once a week, once a month, however you feel like you need to do it. But it clears out the energy. Throw open a couple of windows, go into every room, make sure you hit those corners. That's a conversation for another day, but that's really how energy builds up, and that's where they come in from. So when I throw up my closed for business sign, it's always in the corner of my room because I know that that's where they come from. So sage in your house, that helps a lot. Okay. If you need to salt your house, that helps a lot as well. But I promise that if you shut them out, they're just going to come at you harder. Okay. So it's important to send up boundaries, open for business 1 hour a day, 1 day a week, however you choose to do it. And you will find that they will follow your rules because these are your rules and this is your life. So being afraid of it, I understand, but it doesn't help you and it doesn't help them. It only makes it harder for you. And when you start to help spirit, I promise you, it makes you feel so good. It's like helping a friend get over a grief. And that helps to grow your spirit. It helps to help them. It makes you feel good. It's like doing an act of service. And so if you look at it that way, it really, truly is a gift. I'm going to continue to drink my coffee here so we can get on with that part. So that leads us to, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this over and I will show you for everybody who's new here what we do. Once it's done, we turn it over like this. I'm going to turn it 3 times, then I'm going to leave it. We're going to talk a little more. So I'm going to once, twice, and 1 more time. So it's 3 times clockwise, and I'm going to let that sit, and we'll get to that later. So let's move from mediums to psychics. Now, I do not consider myself a psychic. My great-grandmother was. My great-grandmother, who read cards, and at the time, in her time, she did not have tarot cards. I am Armenian. She is from Armenia. They didn't have them. Okay, so she had regular playing cards. And if you want to go back and look at my introduction video, you can see her cards are there. I inherited those. She was a psychic. She would read the coffee grinds and she would read the cards and get psychic intuitions of future events. Okay. The very basic definition of a psychic is knowing future events, right? And all-knowing or claircognizant. So this is something that I learned from her, the coffee grounds, because we've been doing this since we were children. She read the cards. She stopped reading that particular group of cards when she predicted my aunt's death, and my aunt passed at a very young age. She was only 19. So, and she never touched them again. And I've had them all this time. I've used them only once. I may use them again in future readings. We don't know. But if you have that ability to see, let's say you have a vision, or my father used to have visions. If you have a vision and later it comes true, that would be a psychic ability. Sometimes that can be scary, especially if you're a kid when this is happening, because you see your grandfather pass, or you see somebody get in a car accident, or you see something about yourself in the future, and it's scary, especially if you're a child. You may have that inkling, I'm going to just ignore it. You know, it's not happening. I don't want to have anything to do with that. But having a psychic ability can also be used in a way to help people and help yourself. So when you shut it down because it may be a little bit scary or unknown, or you can't understand it, you're not helping yourself, and you're stagnating your gifts, and that can actually make you feel sort of not whole, because this is a gift that was given to you for a reason. So if this is something that's happened to you for a long time, it's something that you should really research and embrace. Perhaps find someone you can talk to about it, because there is mostly positive. Okay, I understand that having that sort of psychic ability can be scary, and it's not necessarily something that you love to have happen. And some things aren't good, but some things are great. Sometimes it's, oh my goodness, you're going to have a baby soon. Or, oh my goodness, you know what? I see you going off to university in Europe somewhere, or something like that. You can have that sort of thing, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful, and it's a great thing to share. So if you shut off the one side because it's a little bit scary or you don't like to see it, then you're closing yourself off to the wonderful parts to it as well. So there is a balance there. You can find a way around it. You can find a way to accept it and embrace it. And use it, yes, sometimes not in a positive way, but oftentimes it's very positive information, and it was given to you for a reason. Okay, that ability was given to you for a reason. One of my abilities, which I for a long time really didn't want to know about, but came about, and I finally realized what I was seeing, is that I can see when someone is going to pass. I can tell within about 3 weeks. It's very specific. I won't get into the details of how I know that or how I can see it. But for a long time, I wouldn't even talk about it, because I thought, oh, if I talk about this, it's not good, and I shouldn't know these things, and it's not something I should be sharing with people. And so I'm not going to talk about it, because I'm going to be punished for it. And it took me a long time to sort of get past that idea. Now, I don't go up to somebody and go, hey, you're going to die. No. And it hasn't happened to me very often, because how many times have you come across a human being that you know is going to pass, or that is going to pass? But I have had people that I have known who are very ill, and I've known the exact date and even the time that they're going to pass. And I have actually seen somebody's spirit leaving their body, and they passed about an hour and a half later. So that's really when it became front and center for me, is when I actually saw their spirit leaving their body. So that it can be called a psychic ability. I have yet to figure out exactly what that means. Now, Indigo and Rainbow children can do that sort of thing. So for sure, I think that's who I am. But so psychic abilities can stretch long and wide. Okay, so it's not just you're predicting the lottery numbers. Okay, it's an amazing gift that if you work at, if you practice at, if you embrace it, you'd be amazed about the things that you can actually know and learn. Okay, so let's move on then from there to healers. Now, I think that healers are amazing. If you're a person who can see people's auras, if you're Reiki, you see here I have Reiki and light workers. If you can hold your hands up to somebody and say, I can see that your joints are you're having trouble with your joints. I can see that maybe your blood pressure is wrong. There's something with your blood. You need to look into this. If you're that kind of healer, I think it's absolutely amazing. And if you've ever had the sensation of you've been sitting with someone and go, you know, I think there's something wrong physically. I think they're having some trouble with their lungs. That sort of thing. If that has come to you, you may want to look into becoming a Reiki master or a light worker, of some kind of healer. I think this is an absolutely amazing ability. And if it comes to you naturally, you must embrace it, because it's a gift, not just a spiritual gift that you're sharing with people, but it can actually be a life-saving or physical relief for the actual human beings that we are, right? Our physical human experience. I think that that's amazing. I've never been able to see auras, but there are some people that just comes so easily for, and they can see within the auras different things that may be happening with them, even in their emotions and that kind of thing. I have a Reiki master. She is amazing. The very first time I saw her, I sort of spilled my guts about all of my abilities. And she took a lot of extra time with me. She was somebody that my sister-in-law introduced me to. I went into her room with her. She does this through her home. And my sister-in-law was sitting in the living room waiting for me, and was just like, what is going on in there? Because immediately I saw my Reiki master's spirit guides step forward and come in and watch them touching me and helping to heal, not just your physical being, but your spiritual being, and pass energy back and forth, which is just the most amazing feeling afterwards. I can't explain that sort of, it's almost out of body. It's incredible. And so if you are a clair or a medium or a psychic, and you feel maybe your balance is off, go and visit a Reiki master and have them help you to realign. It really is an amazing feeling. And if you have that ability, or you've been thinking about that, or you think, I wonder if I can do this, I feel like I can, look into it, study it, find out what you can do. Find a Reiki master and ask them for help. The one that I go to, she's very, very talented. She's studied in South America. She's been doing this for a long time. During my session, she was singing, she was speaking in tongues, she was using bowls and all of crystal bowls and that sort of thing. So she's very, very talented. If that is something that you feel naturally comes from you, absolutely, I implore you to look further into that, because it is an amazing gift. It really is. And it's a beautiful thing. And when she was done with me, I thought, oh my gosh, I think I've broken this woman. And she said, oh no, it makes me feel so enlightened and invigorated and full of energy to do that sort of thing, to even out other people's energy and connect with her own spirits, is just invigorates her. So I think that it would not just benefit other human beings, but it would benefit yourself as well. So I just think that healers and light workers and Reiki masters are amazing. And shamans, I would talk about shamans. I don't know that much about shamanism, but absolutely, I would suggest definitely look into that. I think it's an amazing, amazing gift. Which brings us to empaths. Now, all of the things I just talked about, you cannot be any of those things if you are not an empath. However, you can be an empath and not be any of those things. Let me explain. When you have all of these or any of these talents, these gifts, okay, you have to have the underlying skill of empathy, of empathic feelings, okay, that you are an empath. Now, if somebody has said to you, that child is just so sensitive, you were always such a sensitive child. Well, that's not necessarily true. It's not some kind of, you're a drama queen, right? This is, you actually can feel the emotions that other people are feeling, and you feel it deep inside of you. Like it's your own emotions. This is being an empath. Have you ever walked into a room and gone, oh boy, this room feels really tense, but there's nobody in it? It's because you're feeling the past vibrations of energy that were there. Have you ever met somebody and go, I got your number. I can tell right away what kind of person you are. That's empathy. If you have a hard time being in large crowds, it's not because you're a loner, okay? It's because you can feel all of those emotions, and it's very heavy and can weigh you down. And so the people will say, oh, well, you're just sensitive. Well, yeah, you are. You're clairsentient. You are an empath. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful thing. If you're an empath, you may find that broken people search you out, okay? Broken people will absolutely glom onto you, okay? They'll be like, I can feel this person can help me. So they will come at you hard. So if you are an empath, that's something that you need to look into. Down below, I'm going to link a video that explains different kinds of empaths and how to know if you are one or not. And if it resonates for you, if you go ding, 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 that's me, then you'll know that you are an empath. Now, there are a couple of different kinds of empaths. There are empaths that are empathetic to other living beings, right? Or animals, okay? And then there are empaths, like I have a friend who is highly empathetic and connected to nature. She can literally feel what nature is feeling. If it's struggling, if it's sad, if a tree is hurting, if an animal is hurting. She told me that as a child, she could actually speak with animals, the birds. So that is a clairaudient, okay? So there are different kinds of being an empath. Now, when we first met, we hadn't known each other very long. I sent her a picture of a tree across the street from my house. Now, I knew what was going on with that tree, but she did not. So I sent her a picture and I said, tell me what you feel about this tree. And it literally made her physically ill. Now, I felt really bad about that. I didn't mean to do that to her. I knew that that tree had something going on with it. It had an elemental in it. It's an element. I do not love elementals, okay? I try and avoid them with as much as I can. Elementals are part of nature. You cannot, they are developed from nature. They were never human beings, right? It comes from nature. That tree had an elemental in it. It was a healthy tree, and I could tell that the elemental was attached to the tree and could not leave the tree. But I wasn't in love with that fact. But without her knowing anything about it, just from looking at a picture of it, she understood what was happening with that tree. And she had a physical reaction, much like empaths have a physical reaction when they're around too many people with lots of energy being shared or negative energy. And empaths naturally want to fix other people. Okay, that's just sort of their natural want. It comes from their souls. They can't help themselves. They want to fix what's going on with other people. And sometimes that can be, not sometimes, it can be very, very draining if you don't know the skills to protect yourself from that. So I'm going to link that video down below, and that should help you. There's also a YouTube channel called Empath Refuge, and that has a lot of information too. I'll link that as well. So like I said, you can be an empath and not be any of those other gifts, or you can have all those other gifts and but you cannot have all those other gifts and not be an empath as well. So having covered all of those things, I know we didn't go too far into depth, but if you have a story or you have an ability and you've sort of figured it out or figured out a way to live more openly with it, I'd love to hear about it. You know, leave it down below, because you never know who you're going to help. And that's what we're here for, right? To talk about these sorts of things. So on Thursday, I am going to do a pick a card reading. I think I'll do 4 piles. And in that, if you're confused maybe about what your abilities are, or maybe you have an ability you haven't tapped into yet, we'll see what Spirit has to say for you. Not just what your ability is, but maybe how to protect yourself or delve deeper into it and feel more secure and safe in doing so. So join us on Thursday for that. All right, so let's do the coffee grounds. How this works, if you're new here, is we're going to do a quick breathing meditation. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your feet flat on the floor so you're connected to the earth. You're going to put your hands in your laps with your palms up to the sky so you're connecting to the universe. And I'm going to do this with you. You're going to take a deep breath in through your nose for 5. You're going to hold it for 2 and kind of push it out your mouth like you're blowing through a straw for 3. And what that's going to do is clear out your energy, and it's going to help you to focus into your intuition. And we're going to use our intuition and our clairaudient, our clairsentient, or our claircognizance to know exactly what it is that we're seeing. Go with the first thing that pops into your mind. Don't question it, okay? Don't question it. If the word peanut butter jelly time comes up, well, that's what they wanted to tell you, okay? So go with the very first thing, and the more you do this, the more you practice at this, the better you're going to get at it. And it's going to help you to become closer connected to your intuition, understand what is Spirit guiding you and what is your own mind racing, right? That's another way to practice your claircognizance and your clairvoyance, okay? So, and we're going to start right now. Put your feet on the floor, hands in your lap with your palms up to the sky, and begin. Okay, now let's see what the coffee grinds say. There's very few in there today. They want you to really think for yourself today. But use your intuition. Tell me what the very first thing you heard was when you saw that. Okay, I know what I heard, and I will leave that down below. I will leave that down below later. Leave me in the comments what it is that you're seeing and what it is that you're feeling and what you're hearing. Use your abilities. That's what they're there for, and the more you practice, the better you get at it. Because although we've been born with this gift, it doesn't mean we know exactly how to use it, right? Some people do. Some people are amazing at that. But for most of us, as we grow, as we age, we sort of lose that because, you know, life. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. And let's pull a Moonology card and see if Spirit has anything they'd like to share with us today. I'm going to do it back here, guys, because there's not a lot of room there. Can I get a card, please, for the collective? Oh, that came right out. Goodness. Something to say. Yay. You're very close to achieving your goals. I love that. So if you were drawn to this Coffee Talk Tuesday, they're telling you, good job. You're very close to achieving your goals. You're almost there. Keep practicing, keep working at it, keep recognizing what you actually can do, that this is an absolute gift. I think that's very cool. Okay, I am going to be wired for the rest of the day now I've had this coffee. Thank you very much for joining me. That was fun and interesting, and I can't wait to hear what you all have to say and what your own experiences are. I think it's amazing, and I think it helps everybody who does have a gift to grow as well. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy. I'm here. I want to listen. I want to hear it. And I will see you guys on Thursday. Love and light, everybody. Bye-bye.